It's just showing black on the. Oh my God.
Mm. And it worked yesterday. Why is it now doing another
Okay,
thing?
I'm coming. Oh my God.
And it worked yesterday. Why is it now doing another
Okay,
thing?
I'm coming. Don't worry, let me use another person's
Oh my
computer.
God. Okay, so it's 11 o'clock now. Victor, I'm going live. Victor, I'm muting
Let me use another person's
device. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so it's 11 o'clock now. Try to. I'm going live. No, I think it's going to work now, Mohammed. Live. Okay.
Fine.
I think it's going. Oh, it's not working still. So I'm going live now, Victor.
Yes, that's fine.
And bye bye.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the last episode of
Wanene
Digital
on the
Shift.
camera. Look at them.
All right. Welcome to the last episode of the Digital Shift webinar series hosted by Health Technologies. Today's webinar is titled Nigeria's E-Invoicing Rollout, Everything You Need to Know. I'm Victor Adefe, and I'm delighted to be your host for this timely and essential conversation. Thank you for joining across Nigeria's business segments. We reckon that on the call we have CFOs, we have finance directors, we have tax managers, we have tax directors, we have CTOs and IT leads, and a host of business executives all gathered here today to explore the new chapter in Nigeria's fiscal transformation system. Just to set the context to why we are here, we all understand that FIRS is transitioning into NRS, and that mandates businesses operating in Nigeria to be enabled for e-invoicing, which is a digital means of transferring invoices to FIRS for fiscalization before transmitting the same invoices to their customers. FIRS is starting with large taxpayers, businesses with annual turnover of 5 billion and above for the first segment of this initiative, but we reckon that this initiative will be transformed or be spread across all business entities operating in Nigeria today. The grand design behind this initiative is that FIRS aims to improve transparency, close revenue gaps, things like tax evasion, tax avoidance, and also modernize tax administration across the economy by shifting businesses from paper-based invoice system to digital invoicing. And this didn't just start today. It started a couple of months ago, and we've seen a lot of businesses making moves towards configuring their system, connecting to the FIRS MPS portal. So what does that mean to configure your system? What does it mean to connect to FIRS? What does it mean to configure your system? What does it entail? What's the impact of this initiative? What are the risks? What are the requirements? What is the future of this initiative? That's why we are here today, to unpack all these questions and more. It's going to be an insightful and engaging session that we're going to be having. We have a host of speakers here as well who would be doing just questions and enlightening us as to what FIRS is doing at this time. Just before I introduce the speakers, I'd like to talk about S Technologies. We are an FIRS service provider, which means that we are both system integrators and access point provider for the e-invoicing initiative. What that means is that we help your business, or businesses generally, to configure their ERP to generate invoices in alignment with FIRS schema. We help businesses integrate their system with the it could be their ERP, it could be their POS, so FRS MBS system will help in the automation of tax reporting and tax reconciliation. And we also implement cybersecurity as a key strategy in all that we do for business, such that your data is secure, and we implement enterprise-grade security to ensure that your information is kept safe within the global data protection regulation policy and NDPR as well. For today's session, we have experts from FRS, from tax policy experts to finance and technology, who will be guiding us through what this rollout implies and what it means, right, and how it affects various organizations. So now let's meet our speaker. Our first speaker, Mohammed Bawa. We are honored to have Mohammed Bawa. He is a project manager for the FRS E-Invoicing merchant buyer solution. He is a seasoned project manager and business analyst with over a decade experience in driving public sector digital transformation. He currently heads the product management unit under the digital tax solution division at FRS, and he leads the landmark national e-invoicing project, a key initiative advancing transparency and tax compliance in Nigeria. Mohammed has played pivotal roles in projects such as Tax VAT automation, e-stamp duty implementation, contributing significantly to the organization agenda. He brings a deep expertise in product management, stakeholder engagement, and technology-driven reforms. And he's a fellow of the African Leadership University, where he honed his capacity for public sector innovation. Our next speaker is Nwamaka Itie. Nwamaka Oswaze Itie is a seasoned finance professional with over 12 years tax experience, and currently she is the group tax manager at Holding, a leading African investment company. She oversees group-wide tax strategy, planning, and compliance across multiple sectors and jurisdictions. Before joining Holding, she held key roles at PwC and Deloitte, advising multinationals and local clients on tax compliance and compliance issues. She holds BSc and MSc degrees in economics, and she's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, an associate of Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, that's ICANN, and a graduate member of the Nigerian Institute of Management, NIM. We also have Romanus Eke. Romanus is the acting Chief Technology Officer at S Technologies. Romanus brings over a decade of experience driving technology-led transformation across Africa's enterprise landscape. His career journey spans from foundational roles in telecommunication, engineering at MTN and Globacom, through commercial leadership at Vodacom Business, to strategic advisory at Deloitte, where he led development of the firm's cloud engineering practice. Today, as the acting Chief Technology Officer at S Technologies, Romanus applies his deep sector expertise to help organizations accelerate growth, innovation, and digital transformation. And finally, we have Habib Dixon Ayila. He's a finance professional with broad experience in financial reporting, planning, strategy, and performance management. He currently serves as finance manager at S Technologies, where he oversees financial operations, treasury management, and strategic reporting. Before joining S Technologies, he worked at Chapel Hill Denham as performance and group accountant, and at Lead Assurance, where he advanced through roles in financial reporting, strategy, planning, and analysis. He holds a BSc in insurance from Lagos State University and an associate of both the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria. All right. Thank you, our distinguished panelists. Thank you for joining us. Let's dive straight into a conversation. All right. So I'd like us to start with FRS. Mohammed, my first question will go to you. Invoicing has already started. Many organizations have been enabled for it. Some are in the process of being enabled for it. From FRS's perspective, what early milestones has been achieved so far? What are the key priorities for businesses in this initial phase? What does FRS expect of businesses? Can you share with us? Yes, Mohammed, you can. Okay. Did you hear me? Or should I repeat the question? Okay.
Hello, good morning, Victor. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Did you get my question? Or should I repeat it?
No, can you come again? You have to repeat the question, please.
Okay. So in terms of where we are as a nation with respect to invoicing, it started. We know some organizations have been enabled. Some are in the process of getting themselves enabled for invoicing. From FRS's perspective, what milestones have been reached? What has been achieved so far? What are the key priorities that FRS expect from businesses in this initial phase?
Okay, good morning, Victor, and good morning, everyone that has joined this call. And thank you, Health Technologies, for putting this together to join our advocacy towards the implementation of the invoicing in Nigeria. So for FIRS, as you're all aware, we started this journey almost 1 year ago, precisely November 2024. We started the pilot, which was a voluntary phase for all large taxpayers to join. Unfortunately, only few companies took advantage of that pilot period until June this year, when FIRS announced it's making it mandatory on all large taxpayers with a turnover threshold of more than 5 billion naira, with the goal live date of 1st of August. And that was when we saw a lot of companies coming to join the process, right? And that made us the FRS management to see the need for an extension up to November 1st this year. So as I'm speaking to you, we have so many companies that have onboarded, that have finished the integration, and have also begun transmission of invoices, live invoices to FIRS, right? So the expectation of FIRS is that by that 1st of November, we expect all large taxpayers within that turnover threshold to have onboarded, completed the integration, and transmitted, right? So that is the expectation, minimum expectation of FIRS for the November go live date. However, as at that 1st of November, based on our review, we discovered that so many companies are still in the process of integration. And that made the FRS management to do another public notice, which was published, I think, last Thursday, encouraging all large taxpayers that have not completed their integration to do so as soon as possible to avoid in compliance with the law, right? Of course, FIRS at this point did not mention any penalty being imposed on non-compliant taxpayers, but we are encouraging every taxpayer to, as a matter of urgency, to do the needful, because we have given enough notice for companies to comply. Right, so that is the expectation of FIRS. In the eyes of FIRS, we expect that every large taxpayer within that threshold should have finished the onboarding, integration, and begin the transmission of live invoice data. So as far as FIRS is concerned, this is where we are until management makes further communication on this matter. Of course, we are receiving various reports from service provider with respect to integration status of all taxpayers, and we are also reviewing all the onboarding data within FIRS to empower management to make the right decision in due course. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mohammed, for that elaborate response. So now that we understand what FIRS expects of large taxpayers, I'll build on that question to Wamaka. Wamaka, we understand that quite a number of organizations are still adjusting from a compliance standpoint to FIRS's requirements. What most organizations do, what are they supposed to put in place to ensure a smooth onboarding and also to ensure that they are enabled for invoicing. And like Mohammed said, organizations should race towards this to ensure that they are not found uncompliant or non-compliant with FIRS requirements. So what should they put in place?
All right, thank you very much. So, Victor, there's also something we can pick on from what Mr. Bauer said. Even though we're looking at large taxpayers, it doesn't mean that taxpayers who see themselves as smaller than large taxpayers should not also come on board. So what organizations can put in place? First of all, they need to make FRS to be aware of where they are in their compliance journey. So this making FRS aware is especially important for the large taxpayers. They can write to FRS if they've not started, or if they are still if they still have challenges, tell them exactly where they are to request for extension, just to notify FRS. Then next, they need to appoint a responsible party. So even though e-invoicing is a combined engagement requiring finance, IT, tax personnel in the organization, you also need to have the responsible person who you would reach out to, who will be the contact person with FRS, with the service providers that you select. Then the company has to select an FRS approved system integrator and access point provider. So even though there are a lot of people that will tell you they are on this list, they should ask those people for evidence. Let me see where FRS reached out and confirm that you are also a system integrator and access point provider. So this is because the invoicing is not business as normal. Invoicing does not mean saving an invoice as PDF and sending out. There are ways it has to be sent digitally to FRS. So they need to also discuss with those service providers the type of invoices they raise so that they can get advice on whether whether their business is a high volume or whether it is low volume in the invoices issued, and then whether they're going to be doing invoicing or whether they're going to be doing something we call fiscalization. The fiscalization is the one that they use for, let me say, banks, those companies that just raise, you might be 1 naira, 2 naira, but they build up. So are you doing invoicing or are you doing fiscalization in your invoicing? And then the last important one I will call will be data cleansing. Because right now, companies some people might imagine that any invoice or any document they have, just push it to your service provider. But they also need to take the extra mile and check that data they are giving out, did they get the vendors' phone numbers? Or did they get their customer's phone number? Is it business to business? Is it business to customer? So they need to clarify all of that as they start this compliance journey.
Thank you so much, Wamaka, for that insightful response. I was able to pick that because we have a number of tax managers, CFOs on the call. Wamaka has already advised us. If you are still in the process of getting yourself enabled for invoicing, what you should do is to write a letter to FIRS indicating that you are already in the process of being enabled for this initiative. And then she also mentioned that for businesses who have not even started this process, they should reach out to service providers. That's those who are accredited or approved system integrators and access point providers. And that brings me to Romanos. S Technologies is one of the approved system integrators and access point provider for this invoicing initiative. From a technology standpoint, what does readiness look like? What should company put in place to what technical steps should they take to get themselves enabled for e-invoicing?
Okay, thank you. Thanks and good morning, everyone. So for us at Has Technologies, Today, we are both system integrator and access point provider. And what that means for customers and those of you who are on this call is that we meet you on the journey, the halfway. And what that delivers for you as a business is that you don't need to worry about where do I start? What's the current state of my data? We're able to come in, help you with, making sure that your data is in the right format and your system is also configured to be able to transmit the invoicing data that you have. And even when, for example, you do not have this in an automated or advanced system, say an ERP solution, we're also able to assist you, make sure that even, for example, you have this data manually stored somewhere. Some might be in a Excel file. We're able to enable you by giving you solutions that can help you manage your invoices going forward so that you can seamlessly connect to FIRS platform. As a system integrator, we come with the right level of knowledge, and this knowledge is domiciled locally, meaning you get people who can come to your office to support you. And beside that, looking at what readiness means. If you have got an ERP solution today and you do not know how to expose your invoice data for FIRS to consume or for FIRS to validate and sign and be able to transmit back to your ERP solution. Say today you're using SAP or you're using Odoo or you're using Microsoft Dynamics 365. We're able to help you, build APIs that can expose those invoice data in the right format. Remember that you might have a system that might not support natively, the format that has been specified by FIRS. We're able to do all the necessary heavy lifting for you by being able to do the necessary conversion, and you don't need to worry about it. So we've got engineers who are skilled and who have also helped other businesses transmit this data to FIRS and be able to get those invoice data signed off and transmitted back to your ERP so that you can now issue the invoice to the third party. So we help you in many ways. If you're thinking about security, what we provide is we'll give you that assurance in terms of being able to transmit your data securely. We've also helped businesses who today might not have APIs. We help with API development. We also have supported businesses whose systems, for example, might not support native authentication like Auth 2.0. We're able to, help you extract your information securely. And even when, for example, you may want us to connect to your database, we're also able to securely connect to your database and make sure that the transmission of data is encrypted end to end. We've got a middleware where we facilitate this transmission as access point provider. And what that also means for you as a business is that you do not need to worry about how these things are happening. All you need to do is just, whenever you have need to raise an invoice, you go into the system, create your invoice, and the data gets transmitted to FIRS and validated without having to worry about what happens behind the scenes. Thanks, Victor.
Thank you so much, Romanus, for highlighting the end-to-end process from a technical standpoint about invoices transmitted to FIRS and then back to the taxpayer. I'd like to hand over the mic to Habib, right? All the technology that Romans had talked about. Everything is still going to come down to operations at the end of the day. From a finance standpoint, that's from operations, right? How do you advise organizations? Would you advise them to adjust to this new model? How do they maintain accurate reconciliation, and also stable cash flow during this transition?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Victor, for the question. So to start with, like Uamaka said earlier, the fact that FRS has mandated some large businesses to comply with e-invoicing does not mean that the smaller businesses should not also look into it for them to be ready for the implementation in future. So the first thing to start with is the awareness of e-invoicing in all businesses. So by the time the awareness gets to them, they are already aware that the format of the invoice that they need to be using moving forward must align with the approved invoice format by FIRS. So in that instance, they would have programmed their system to have that format of invoice, which they'll be using from now till when they are going to get onboarded. So having done that, they have to then look into the various fields that their invoice needs to have, talking about the information that is required to be updated on the various invoices, which will be admitted by the FIRS. Such information like the TIN number of the business, the buyer of their product or receiver of their service name, the address of the receiver of the service, and some other regulatory information that would enable their invoice to be admitted by FIRS. So now, at the point of raising invoice, when they are already onboarded, they should be aware that if they raise invoice, the invoice gets transmitted to FIRS portal, be it maybe the MBS portal, which is the Merchant Buyer Solution portal, which is where FIRS will real-timely validate the invoice. And after the validation of the invoice, if the invoice has the required information, the invoice will come back to the finance team that raised the invoice, which will be approved. And it will come back to the finance team with a code called ISN, which is IRN rather, which is invoice reference number. So that reference number will show that that same invoice has been validated by FIRS. And that invoice is what will be sent to the customer. So any customer that receives such invoice with the code would be rest assured that the invoice is genuine, is valid, and is approved by FIRS for them to transact business with the service provider. So having all those information in place, then having been aware of the e-invoicing requirements and everything, it will enable you as a business provider to service your customer in the right direction and to provide assurance to the customer that you are really approved by FIRS to provide such service and using that same invoice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Habib. Thank you so much. Thank you for highlighting to us what the finance team ought to do with respect to this new e-invoicing initiative. Just to say something, just to tell our audiences, you can leverage the Q&A feature to ask your questions as the conversation will go along. If you still have further questions, you can ask them, and after the panel session, we'll be taking questions from the Q&A section. Yes, so we've all talked about the status of the rollout, what is expected from businesses to ensure that they are compliant with the new initiative. Because this is quite new. Every new development comes with some level of change management, complexities that are handled by change management. So I'd like to ask Amaka, as businesses rush to this compliance, to comply to the invoicing initiative, what are the common mistakes or misconceptions that you've observed from various businesses, judging by your role as a group tax manager and an expert in the industry? So what are the common mistakes or pitfalls various organizations have made, and how can they correct them before those mistakes become costly mistakes?
Okay. All right. Thanks, Victor. So what I can also add here, as we're looking at it, is that businesses should first of all recognize that the silent partner in every transaction that they have is the tax authority. So that's, if you put that at the back of your mind, that can guide you in your process. So some of these common mistakes that I have seen, not just within my own group, but also from discussion with other professional colleagues, is sometimes at the beginning process, some people imagine that it is just an IT project, it's just a finance project. E-invoicing is a company project. So even though you have a particular person that is in charge of the project, the members should cut across finance, tax, IT, procurement, people that raise the actual invoices. Then for now, FRS is targeting invoices that are being issued out. They've not yet started putting strict mandates on invoices that are being received. So that's also where we look at. So that's why I say the invoices being issued out, who are all those that issue invoices? They need to be aware of it. Another thing that we need to remember, or another risk of sin, is the data management. So that data management involves getting the correct information from your customers so that you're putting in the right data. Then not selecting their system integrator and access point provider correctly is a problem. And even after selecting that, some companies forget that the ERPs that you have on ground, you also need to reach out to your ERP provider. So system integrator and access points are the link to the FRS. And the FRS has already promised us that for this period of time, they are bearing the cost from access point provider to the FRS's portal. So that means they've even subsidized it for us because it's still new. But at the same time, even though you are getting your system integrator that is changing your invoices into the language of digital and technology, you still need to reach out to your ERP provider. Then training. Training is important. The FRS is organizing training, different consultants, different people organizing training. You cannot be overtrained. So if you forget that you need to go for training, ask questions, even with that we think we need it, we still keep calling FRS to reconfirm. So that, and they also have a portal on their website, on that invoicing website, they called it developers community. You can ask any question there, and someone is there on standby within 24, 48 hours. They respond to your questions. So forgetting to use all these tools at our disposal is also another risk or pitfall that I see.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wamaka, for this clearly responded to clear response actually. So you mentioned that organizations should reckon that FRS is a silent partner in all of this, and how they should leverage and work with system integrators after selecting them. We also talked about data management and how organizations ought to reach out to their ERP consultants. That's for organizations who are not who don't have access to the developer environment of their ERP by themselves, because there are some configuration that ought to be made on that end. Right. So, and then you also explained that training is also an essential aspect of all of these. And if anybody needs any help, they can reach out to leverage the community environment to ask their questions. So I'd like to turn to Mohammed in terms of from FRS's perspective. How is FRS supporting organization through this learning curve? It's a new initiative. Many businesses, we've not done this before. Many businesses are in the process of getting enabled for it. So what's FRS doing in terms of how they are guiding and collaborating with both integrators and also the taxpayers who are looking to get themselves enabled? Did you get my question?
Hello, Victor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So first of all, you asked about how FRS is supporting taxpayers and everyone to on this thing. So first of all, from the beginning, FRS ensured that we built a robust self-service portal for the invoicing to ensure that we have enough information and knowledge on the invoicing on the website, right? So that's the first step. So I'm sure anyone that has visited that site will see that there's so much information regarding the invoicing to the APIs, to the data schema, everything you need to know, it's on that website, right? And then, of course, we also have uh, uh, an opportunity for people to engage with us directly on the website by scheduling meetings, right? The calendar is there, the available dates are there. Whoever that needs more clarity on anything regarding the invoicing, either as a service provider or as a taxpayer, is free to engage us directly by scheduling a meeting which we hold every day. You know, every day I think we have minimum of 5 to 6 to 7 meetings daily to support taxpayers, to support service providers in the implementation. And like Muamaka mentioned before, we also have a developers community on the portal where you can go and ask your questions. If it has not been answered, somebody will answer to you directly. If that question has been answered, you will find the answer to it on the platform, right? And as you are aware, FRS has also been organizing series of engagements from the inception of this project. We've had so many engagements to create awareness, to broaden the understanding of the invoicing across different stakeholder groups, from the service providers to the tax consultants to the taxpayers across different sectors. And we have continued to do that, right, both physically and virtually, right? We also expect the service providers to be a buffer between us and the taxpayers, and that's why the service providers are there. We've ensured that before enlisting any service provider, is in a very good position to provide the needed support to taxpayers, because FRS will not be there to all taxpayers, right? We currently have over 5,000 large taxpayers in the country, so you cannot expect FRS to do this alone. So that's why we call it a national project, that we need everyone on board. And I believe our service providers are also doing enough to support the taxpayers. Just like this webinar we're having, organized by Health Technologies, several other vendors have also organized similar workshops before, right? So for FRS, we also intend to continue to improve the system to make the interaction very easy. We're in the process of developing a simulation portal that will allow taxpayers and service providers alike to simulate the invoice generation, the invoice exchange, the invoice transmission, right? Even before testing it on their own system, right? So we're in the process of that, right? And then, of course, we're also considering other changes on the platform based on our benchmarking exercise we've done recently with other countries, just to make the implementation as seamless as possible, right? So we will do more workshops, we will do more engagement to receive feedback to improve the system. Just as you can confirm now that some of you that have been following us from the beginning, you will agree with me that a lot of changes have happened. And these changes are based on feedback received from taxpayers, from stakeholders through sessions like this, right? So FRS is willing to partner with anyone that's had good ideas on how to improve on this system. So as far as FRS is concerned, yes, we've done well, but we don't have a perfect solution yet. We will continue to improve in it and make interaction very easier. We're also trying to open up a dedicated direct line support, right, for taxpayers that can call in directly to get timely support on their implementation process. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mohammed, for highlighting the various support channels that FRS has put in place to support both taxpayers and also service providers on this initiative. And just to even add to that, it's actually very true, very much true that the community, the developer community is a vibrant community where you can ask your questions and you get responses within hours, right? You get your responses within hours. That's commendable to FRS and the team working on that. If I may turn to Romanus, what practical insights have you learned, or what are the best practices you've seen to ensure a smooth transition from the sandbox environment to the production environment for various businesses? As businesses strive to integrate themselves and to go live, what are those practical lessons that from the technical standpoint that you've seen? Which businesses on this call they can also leverage to get themselves really good for invoicing.
Yeah, thank you, Victor. So from best practice standpoint, it's important for businesses to make sure that they have a development environment before they move on to their production ERP system. It's very, very critical. So don't allow anyone to tell you you can do it from your production environment the very first time. So what is advised as from technology standpoint is that a separate development environment where you can, extract your system integrators like us. We can help you extract your invoicing information to a new development environment and now be able to transmit such data to FRS and get all the necessary validation and sign up, including being able to write back to that environment. So once that is validated, then we'll now enter into a discussion with FIRS to be able to promote that development environment to production. The essence of doing this is because if you do not, or you go the route of trying to run the integration from your production environment, things can go wrong. Remember, if you are leveraging APIs, there will be some level of transformation that needs to happen. And whoever that is doing the integration might not know the history of that platform. So it's good if you must have simulated this in a separate environment before moving to production. And also, what we've seen from technology standpoint is that it's good to also engage tax experts early in the entire program, so that working with the system integrators, you're able to specify what qualifies for reporting in the first place. So that will also guide the architecture design. It's also important that there is secure transmission, meaning all the necessary security protocols that needs to be in place. TLS 1.2 and 1.3 has to be in place. Data needs to be encrypted end-to-end, right? Leveraging different protocols, both on transit and at rest. When it also comes to privacy dimensions, right? Data privacy considerations, it's important, right, that you work with a system integrator and access point provider that does not, store your invoice information. Hashtag, for example, does not store your invoicing information, but we maintain auditability of the transaction so that by way of keeping logs. So whatever thing that is, or whatever invoice you're sending is transmitted transparently via our platform, but we do not store your data. So all these are, best practice consideration as a business. before signing up to any service provider. Thanks, Victor.
Thank you so much, Manus, for that. Now that we've been able to talk about compliance, we've been able to talk about the necessity of collaboration. We've also heard how FRS is supporting both taxpayers and service provider to ensure a smooth transition as they get enabled for e-invoicing. We understand that, again, whatever we do today is the present is the architect of tomorrow. So I want us to talk about what is the future of this initiative. And I would like to start with Habib. From financial leadership point of view, how can e-invoicing move from being a regulatory requirement to a tool that will enable better financial control and operational visibility within an organization?
Thank you very much, Victor, for such a wonderful question. So investing in e-invoicing should be something of joy to all businesses, the way I say it. And here are my reasons. If you have e-invoicing on board, one of the things it's going to do for your business is compliance to the authority. So FIRS being an authority in this game, you are able to comply with their requirements, which will enable you to stay away from penalties in future. So if you have that e-invoicing on board, you won't be fined by FIRS for non-compliance. Additionally to the benefits of e-invoicing is easy reconciliation of your own tax records with FIRS records. So by generating your invoices through e-invoicing, FIRS already have your VAT information at hand. So when you remit your VAT, they already know how much you are remitting, and if whatever you are remitting is not in line with what they are expecting, it is very easy for them to prompt you, and you get everything remitted in time. Other than waiting for the future where they will come for reconciliation, you will pay fine for non-remittance, and you get penalty for the money you didn't remit. So e-invoicing will guide you in getting the appropriate VAT to remit, and you remit accordingly. So what again is going to do for you is to bring in control into your system in order to avoid sending out erroneous invoices to customers. So that platform will enable you to generate an accurate invoice that has the accurate numbers that you are meant to send to the customer. So the platform will enable you to get that kind of invoice that will bring credibility to your system. And I mean, all businesses also want credibility that will translate to more income to their financials. So those are the benefits that I can really say for now, although there are still more benefits if time permits that one can also explain. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Habib. That will suffice for now. I'll turn to Romanos, many technology experts on this call. For what innovations do you foresee in this space, beyond compliance, beyond what we're doing now? How can businesses leverage automation, data, and analytics to improve efficiency and also decision making within the organization?
Okay, thanks, Victor. So from innovation standpoint, looking into the future, this is going to, be the game changer, right? Because if you think about reporting, or you think about, okay, even making the right business decision, so you can leverage data, right, that you have to make an informed decision around, say, for example, who do I trade the most with as a business? Who gives me the largest volume? So some of these things are the things we'll be able to unlock as we continue in the journey. Beside that, you will also begin to see that even from the authority, tax authority in this case, FIRS, you will now begin to see that companies can begin to layer services on top of the data that they have. Say, for example, companies can begin to apply like tax rebates on the go for potential customers, based on the tax or based on what they buy online or what they intend to procure, right? Leveraging different data. So there could be a number of tax rebates that can happen instantly once this system matures and gets to that level where it becomes transformational. It's no longer about compliance alone. It's about ease of business. It's about how then do we leverage, data to enable other capabilities, within the ecosystem or within the economy, right? So that's the future I see when it comes to how companies, both service providers, even the government, can, leverage the initiative to start, enabling businesses to become more transformational. Thanks, Victor. Yeah.
Thank you, Romanus. Moving to Wamaka, with real data flowing now between businesses and FIRS, how might this change the wider tax environment? That's speaking to audit, efficiency, transparency, and trust. How will this real-time data flow between businesses and FIRS, how will it affect the wider tax environment?
Okay. So regarding the wider tax environment, one of the changes we would have now is that the tax authorities will already have your data. So during tax audits, what we face currently is that FRS comes to audit a company after 2 or 3 years after a transaction has been rendered. Then the company runs helter-skelter, reaches out to different parties within the company to get invoicing and transaction details. With e-invoicing, FRS already has your data. FRS is just going to pick out the transactions. Or by that time, let me say next year, it will be Nigerian Revenue Service. They'll just be picking out the transactions that they require you to explain or provide clarity on. Can you hear me? Yes. So it's going to be a different scale. So FRS is more of a case of they already have the information. They're now expecting us to come and confirm. Then another thing that we're going to see going forward is VAT. So even though right now, invoicing is not being used to file VAT, there's something key that Romanos picked up on about rebates. So what we're going to move into is that your input VAT is going to be recognized on the system with this e-invoicing. So when we have all input VAT, so by next year with the new tax laws, input VAT will be claimed on other items apart from just sale of goods. It's going to be claimed on supply of services, on purchase of fixed assets. So when you do all those transactions, the VAT is recorded on the e-invoicing. Anytime you need to claim your input VAT, apart from the record that the finance people like Habib would have kept, you can also use your invoicing to back up your data and give you 2 points of, or should I say, I can call them 2 points of confidence for you to reconfirm your data. So I know it's going to be a new change. Change can be scary, but after going through the parts of fear, we'll see that there will be some positive benefits on it.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing with us those insightful tips as to what the future holds for invoicing. Because again, we have our regulator here, which is FIRS. Mohammed, what's the roadmap for invoicing? As many businesses begin to continue to integrate, how does FIRS plan to refine and scale the platform?
Okay. Thank you, Victor. So the plan, like, we're moving in phases, like, I'm happy that some of the earlier speakers have clarified that even though this phase is for large taxpayers, it's also open to other categories of taxpayers below the 5 billion threshold to onboard, right? So our approach is to take it gradually, continue to review the compliance level, continue to review the performance level of the system with respect to infrastructure, reliability, and every other concern, and then we scale up. All right. So at the end of every phase, there is what we call post-implementation review of the entire system. All right, which will be done by all the stakeholders concerned. First of all, we are going to have session with each group of stakeholders to review the implementation, the challenges, the concerns, receive feedback, discuss areas of improvement based on the feedback, and agree on how to move forward, right? And then we also have session with service providers like you, who are the ones going to the field to interact with these taxpayers, right, regarding the implementation, right? And of course, we also have a session with our consultants that are implementing it. And of course, for FRS also, as we're implementing, we're also benchmarking against what other countries have done. On the part of FRS, we've tried to reach out to a few countries and even physically visited some to see physically what they have done and learn from their experiences, right? So all these things put together, will allow us to review our approach based on what we've done, and then decide on the way to go. So we are not rushing. We understand that invoicing is a journey. It's not a destination, right? It's not it's not a destination that we have to rush to get to. And that's why for now we are insisting we're only making it mandatory for outbound invoices. We are not saying you must also receive invoices in this required format, because we understand it will take time for everyone to get on board. So taxpayers have nothing to worry. We are not here to make life difficult for anyone, right? We are only here to do what this country needed to have done, long years ago. We are here to solve a problem that has been existing for a very long time, and we believe it to take time to solve it, right? So we need everybody to understand the journey, to be part of it. Don't see it as FIRS coming to make you to do invoicing. Look at it as something that you have a responsibility to, as a citizen of Nigeria and also as a taxpayer, to do the right thing, right? So that we can make compliance easy for everyone, improve transparency, which will make it very easy, very difficult for any of the related parties, right, to engage in any form of connivance, right? So we are building a system that's going to protect everyone. Nobody is being witch hunted. Nobody is being, So see it as that. Once see it as that, I'm sure together we will build a robust system that would outlive all of us. So it's a vision that we have. Some of us might not be here when the actual result will be actualized, but we'll be happy to be part of the people that have started it. Other people will come and continue it, right? So that's just what I have to say. We have a very robust plan to scale this solution as we move on for the implementation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohammed. There you have it, everybody. FRS is not joking. In today's balance, FRS is not here to play. This is a serious initiative, and they are going to see this through to the end, just like Mohammed has highlighted, and the other speakers have also enumerated to us. It's important that everybody comes on board. There's a full-fledged plan to this. FRS has put quite a number of plans together in their roadmap on how they would improve and scale the system. And the benefits to you as an organization is also enormous. And much more so, you will also be complying with a government regulation. So again, we enjoin you to kickstart the process if you haven't started, and if you have started, you might want to hasten it up today. We'll have quite a number of questions. So we'll look through and take some questions. We have a lot of questions. We will not be able to take all of them because of time. However, if we are unable to get to answer your question, we would send you an email with the response to your question. Okay, so I'll call out the questions and assign to one of the speakers. This person says, my question to Mohammed, will there be flexibility or transitional support for businesses that encounter integration challenges after onboarding? Will there be flexibility or transitional support for businesses that encounter integration challenges after onboarding?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Victor. Our support is not limited just to onboarding taxpayers, or where the implementation continues, right? Both during the integration and even for transmission. Currently, we support taxpayers that even at the testing stage, people that encounter problems, even at the testing and then trying to move to production. So, like I said, anytime you encounter such issues, please schedule a meeting with us. If the timing is not right for you, try to reach out to some of us. Ask questions in the developer committee. Like I said, we are trying to open up more channels that people can reach out. But first of all, reach out to your service providers, right? Reach out to your service providers. If the issue is beyond the service providers, they will also, the service providers knows how to reach us directly, right? So we're available to support anyone, but throughout the stages, either onboarding, integration, or transmission. Even people that have gone live today, we're providing support for them, right? So we understand that at every stage there will be teething problem, both the onboarding, integrating, and even transmission of data. There are people that have started transmitting, but we are not receiving the correct data in the right format, and we have raised issues with that, and they're trying to correct it, right? So it's a process, and where we will be available to support. Right? Yeah, you might have some delays sometimes. We ask you to bear with us. We're also trying to expand, right, our team, so that because we understand this is going to be here with us for a very long time. So we're also putting our acts together to make sure that we respond to you as timely as possible. So the answer is yes. FRS will be ready to support at any time, even beyond the go live period. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohammed. That response is sufficient. I'll ask Romanus this. What about incoming invoices? Would it follow the same process or format as outgoing invoices?
Is that question meant for me or okay, Habib?
It's for Romanus.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So that's where your system integrator as well as access point provider comes in. For us at Heshtech, because we provide that service, meaning both system integration and access point provider services, what we do is that we do all the necessary transformation in terms of the format. So we pick up a particular format from your ERP system, do all the necessary transformation to get it in the right format for FIRS system to consume, have it validated, signed off, and sent back. So in sending it back to your system, it's also transformed again to suit your own format. So the essence of doing that is so that it does not impact the system or the ERP solution you have today. So it continues to work optimally without any performance issue or system issue or maybe error. And we also have strong error handling mechanism such that if there are any issues along the transmission path, you are also able to pinpoint exactly where the issue is. So we've got a very robust solution that delivers end-to-end in terms of being able to do the necessary transformation for you. So you do not need to worry about what gets written back to your system, because it's still going to come in the format, in the native format of that particular ERP system. Thanks.
Thank you, Roman. Thank you for that. Himba is asking, what's the turnover threshold for companies that are expected to deploy invoicing? Just like we have said, all organizations, all businesses in Nigeria, operating in Nigeria, are expected to be enabled for invoicing. However, the first phase is targeting large taxpayers, and those are businesses whose annual turnover is 5 billion and above. But ultimately, it's going to get to both the medium taxpayers and then the low taxpayers. Everybody would come on board. That's FIRS's roadmap. Gloria is asking, how ready is FIRS to integrate high number of businesses into the platform? She says she's been trying to enable her business for invoicing on the MBS platform, and it keeps logging out. And then the approved list of service providers are not responding to email. Reach out to us, Gloria. We would help you and walk you through that process. We'll walk you through that process. Then we also have a question that says, is merchant buyer solution, is it an application? Merchant buyer solution, is it an application? Mohammed, do you want to take that?
It's an ecosystem. It's not an application like the way you have tax max that you come and do your filing, payment. You know, what we build is an ecosystem that is fully a RESTful API system, right? That will facilitate the integration of your ERP systems, right, with the FIRS system, to enable you generate your invoices, transmit, integrate and transmit. If you notice that the generation is going to be done on your system, all what we've done is to define a framework, provided the invoice schema and the APIs that you can use to validate that what you're doing, you're actually doing the right thing, right? So it's not an application. It's an ecosystem, because there are so many stakeholders involved within the ecosystem, you know, to make the invoice generation, integration, and finally transmission to FRS. Remember that beyond reporting, we're also going to have invoice exchange between one business to another, right? So all that is going to happen within the ecosystem. So don't see it as an application you will go to generate your invoice like some people expect, or to go and upload your own invoices. No, that's not how it works. I think that's the only way I can explain it. But I'm sure maybe the health technology team can, the CTO, maybe can add one or two things in addition to what I've said. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohammed. Just like Mohammed has said, it's an ecosystem. It's an ecosystem. So there's a portal for taxpayers, there's a portal for access point provider, there's a portal for system integrators, and there's also a mobile application, MBS 360, where that taxpayers or maybe your customer can use to validate that particular, the QR code on the invoice that you are sharing with them has been validated by FRA. So it's a it's an ecosystem. That's just the best way to put it. Okay. So moving forward, we also have another question here. We might just be taking two more questions. If we are unable to get to your question, the rest assured would revert to you via email. Okay, so this question says that What about when an invoice has been issued to a customer after being validated by FRS and such invoice needs correction per rate, maybe quantity or item? How would such be handled with the new invoicing initiative? All right, Romanus or Mohammed?
So maybe first of all for FRS, you remember we have two invoice types, B2B and for B2C. Yeah, for B2C, you actually you actually report the invoice after issuing to the customer. So that's why reporting can be done at the end of the day, things. For B2C, actually, what we expect that you actually report the invoice and then we authenticate it, right? That's the clearance model before you actually issue it, right? And of course, if there's any change in that invoice, right, you can always come and update that invoice by referencing it and issuing another one, right? As long as the invoice has not been paid on, right? So I think so. The system is flexible enough, right? The system is flexible enough, but the most important thing for you to note is that in the case of a B2B transaction, it's the clearance model. Clearance simply means that when you generate the invoice before issuing it to the buyer, that invoice needs to be cleared by FIRS, which means that it has to be reported and we stamp it, then back to you before you issue it. And then whenever there is any change or cancellation or anything, you can come and update it on the system. Is flexible enough. So don't say, no, I have to issue this invoice before I report, because the aim will be defeated. The aim will be defeated because FIRS wants to recognize this invoice in the future and also make it available for any third party to validate that invoice. If it has not been stamped by FIRS, that means it cannot be authenticated, right? So we need to understand how this works. But in the case of a B2C, you can issue it and then report the transaction later. So this is the much I can say for now. If you need the technical details, you can reach out to the health technology team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So for the technical details, please do reach out to us. We really pressed for time, so we won't be able to take any more questions. We truly apologize for that. And like I said, we would reach out to you via email with the appropriate response to your questions. I'd like to appreciate the speakers. Thank you so much, Mohammed. Thank you, Amaka. Thank you, Romanus. Thank you, Abib, for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for sharing from your world of experience with us on the e-invoicing initiative put together by FIRS. And to our audiences, if the organization is still trying to get ready or is still in the process of getting enabled for invoicing, S Technologies can help. We are here to help. Like we had said, we are both system integrators and access point provider. And one of the things we do for our customers, our prospects, is we offer them a free demo where we show them how the solution works, what will be the outcome, and what are the requirements that would enable them to be onboarded as an e-invoicing taxpayer. So you can book a demo with us today at www.stechnologies.com or send us an email at support@stechnologies.com. We'll schedule a demo with you immediately. Thank you once again for joining. Again, I'm Victor Adeife, and it's my pleasure it's been a pleasure to host this important conversation. Stay connected with S Technologies. Follow us on our social media channels for future sessions. And don't forget, very importantly, book your demo to experience how we enable businesses for e-invoicing. Have a great day and see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Mhm.